latter stages now of the follow-up project to take back your power. And I just want to ask you something. Have you ever felt compelled to do something? Well, it was like that for me with Take Back Your Power. It's like that for me with this follow-up project. And it's also like this about this video that I'm just about to share with you now. I've taken a couple days in the past week and put this edit together of something which the world really needs to know about. And that's how the FCC is planning and have already approved 5G technology. Now I know what you're thinking, 5G technology, it's just the next level of evolution in cell phone communications, and we're just going to have better bandwidth and be able to have support for more applications and so forth. But if you've seen Take Back Your Power, you know that there are very, very serious health risks associated with the proliferation of wireless technology, be it smart meters, be it cell phone towers. Thousands of studies indicate harm. So with this 5G, there are some very, very serious things to be concerned about, both from a health standpoint and also from a surveillance and rights standpoint. So this piece that you're about to watch is going to get into something that, again, the world needs to know about. Last Thursday in Washington, D.C., at the FCC rubber stamping approval meeting for this so-called 5G technology, at that meeting, there were 4 very interesting and powerful things that happened. 2 of them have to do with suppression of free speech and truth that we all need to know about, and 2 of them have to do actually with truth getting injected into the narrative here and on the record in a very powerful way. Okay, so what we're dealing with is the Gestapo is in the United States. They are basically running the show for, most of you already know this. This isn't really news to anyone. We're living in a corporatocracy. But the extent of the harm that's being caused, both to our rights and to truth and to our health, is far worse than what we had imagined. So this is all going somewhere. I want to encourage you that there are solutions both at the end of this video and in the movement and the awareness that's all unfolding from this. But you guys check this out, and we invite you to subscribe to our mailing list at takebackyourpower.net. We're bringing this conversation forward, but I hope you enjoy and are inspired by, but also really pissed off at what's actually going on here and get activated to be part of the solution. So thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.
The big game changer is that 5G will use much higher frequency bands than previously thought viable for mobile broadband and other applications. Such millimeter wave signals have physical properties that are both a limitation and a strength. They tend to travel best in narrow and straight lines, and they do not go through physical objects as well. But brilliant engineers have developed new antennas that can aim and amplify signals. Now, to make this work, the 5G build-out is going to be very infrastructure intensive, requiring massive deployment of small cells. I'm confident that the actions will lead to a cornucopia of unanticipated, innovative uses and will generate tens of billions of dollars in economic activity. And that's damn important, because it means that U.S. companies will be the first out of the gate. And that is why 5G is a national priority. And stay out of the way of technological development. Unlike some countries, we do not believe that we should spend the next couple of years studying what 5G should be or how it should operate. The future has a way of inventing itself. Turning innovators loose is far preferable to expecting committees and regulators to define the future. We won't wait for the standards. We're already seeing the industry gearing up to seize this opportunity. Verizon and AT&T tell us they'll begin deploying 5G trials in 2017, and the first commercial deployments they're talking about are expected in 2020. And we're not done. As part of our July 14 action, we also plan to ask for comments on opening up other high-frequency bands. Many of the high-frequency bands that we will make available for 5G currently have some satellite users as well as some Defense Department applications, or at least the possibility of future satellite and defense users. This means sharing will be required between satellite and terrestrial wireless, an issue that is especially relevant in the 28 gigahertz band. But if anyone tells you that they know the details of what 5G is going to become, run the other way. If something can be connected, it will be connected. Hundreds of billions of microchips connected in products from pill bottles to plant waterers. We must reject the notion that the 5G future will be the sole provenance of urban areas. The 5G revolution will touch all corners of our country. A lot more antenna siting decisions by local governments, and tightened our shot clock for siting application reviews. America's local governments will play an important role in determining how we fulfill this national priority. You can be sure of only one thing. The biggest Internet of Things application has yet to be imagined. Tens of billions of dollars in economic activity. And that's damn important. Ask a question. We'll start with you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Sir.
You needn't egg me on this one. Moments ago, I was attempting to talk to some people who came to attend the meeting and have concerns about radiation and 5G. And one of your security force intervened, told the guy he couldn't show me the T-shirt that he had wished to display at the meeting, forced him to put it away, and confiscated my FCC-issued ID. Is this consonant with the discussion that ought to be taking place here, and what's your reaction to this action by your staff?
I've just heard about it for the first time, Todd. I mean, obviously this is an open meeting, and I'm sure that if your credentials have been mistakenly taken, you will get them back. But there's a responsibility for everybody who comes here to behave responsibly. By approving the Spectrum Frontiers Order, the United States becomes the first country in the world to identify and open up vast amounts of high-frequency spectrum for 5G networks and applications. This is the most significant step yet. And our BDS proceeding is dealing with that issue.
Lydia.
Hey Tom, with the
Hi, Lydia.
study showing wireless causes cancer subthermally, how can you proceed with more wireless expansion with our 60 standards only recognizing thermal effects, ignoring thousands of studies showing cancerous effects, neurological effects, reproductive harm?
Lydia, do you have a question?
I do have a question, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
I'll answer your question, Lydia.
Lydia Bayou, Bloomberg BNA.
Can you just let us know what happened there and your role in those events and what's the significance there?
Yeah, I call this G-Day for the 5G being rolled out. We tried to hold up a sign and inform them about wireless radiation causes cancer before they were making their decision. The sign was taken away from us. I then tried to grab a shirt out of my bag just to hold that up, sitting in my seat very, very innocently, and the head of security there threatened me and tried to grab my shirt, and we kind of struggled with that.
So you didn't even get the shirt out of your bag, or it wasn't even displayed yet, or anything, and the guy was
and
just
the sign wasn't displayed, the shirt wasn't displayed. He was really quite on us, and he watched us the rest of the time. We're sitting right in front of us, just like a hawk, and threatened to kick us out many times.
Wow. So what happened when Todd, the journalist, came over to talk to you?
Okay, so the hearing, actually, they vote, and the hearing's over. It's recessed, and people are just talking and hanging out before there's a press conference starting in I think it was about 15 minutes later.
Okay.
So one of the members of the press came over to ask us what happened, because they were near where they took away the sign. The woman who was holding up the sign was explaining what it said, and I actually was talking to some of the media already, and I saw her talking with that media, and I walked over, and he asked me, what was on the sign, and I told him, and then he asked me, I hear they wanted to take your shirt, what was on that? And I said, I'll show it to you, and I reached into my bag to grab the shirt to show it to him. Now, mind you, the meeting's over, and we're just sitting around, and the director of security came over, said if I take the shirt out of the bag, he'll throw me out once again. And the reporter explained I was just answering his question. I was just showing it to him, and he told the reporter if I took that shirt out, he would throw me out and the reporter.
Wow.
And this is a reporter from Bloomberg who reports from Bloomberg News, and he reminded the director of security who he was, and he again told him he would kick him out. And then the reporter asked for his name and position, and wrote it down, and they went back and forth, and eventually he took away his press credential. The T-shirt said, and it's kind of relevant to being here in Cleveland for the Republican National Convention, LeBron James had a salivary gland tumor where he holds his cell phone. Who's next? And on the back it said, World Health Organization classifies microwave radiation as a Class 2B carcinogen. So that's the one, that was on the T-shirt. And I think it's important because it shows the power of the media to control information and dialogue about this issue. Because most people don't know that LeBron James had a salivary gland tumor removed from his jaw, and it took 6 hours to get out of his jaw, and could have killed him in the operation. But it was a non-malignant tumor, so he went on, and it was right after the playoffs in 2009. And there's two articles. If people Google LeBron James spring surgery, you'll find the two articles. But in one of them, it says at the end, how come no one else is writing about this issue? If this guy wears the wrong T-shirt, it's international news. This guy had a tumor that could have killed him, and no one's talking about it. So it shows the power of the media to control this. And what's really sad is after he had this tumor, he became a sponsor for Samsung cell phones, and now he's a big promoter of Beat wireless headsets, exposing more young children to wireless radiation to the head, and possibly causing the same kind of salivary gland tumor that he had.
And you can bet that that's by design, right? However many tens of millions of dollars he got for that contract was a little bit of insurance on their part, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to mention before, is I don't think they seep into this. I think there's a very conscious effort and plan to fund the people that might cause problems. I think they go to the PTA. We had a problem getting into the PTA and talking about this issue. They kicked us out of the conference, and we were paid exhibitors because they helped fund that conference. And with all these wireless projects, people need to understand everyone gets paid on them. If Citi puts in wireless, they get extra money for other technology projects. Everyone along the way gets a piece of it, and everyone stays quiet as a result. And in the end, our health is being sold down the road, and sometimes not for very much, sometimes pennies per person when you consider a national contribution. I mean, Tom Wheeler delivered a campaign contribution of $700,000 to President Obama, and then he was nominated chairman of the FCC about a month later.
Yeah.
You break that down per person, it's just pennies. So my background is as a medical social worker, and when I was in the hospitals, I saw young salesmen, lawyers coming in with brain tumors and healthy otherwise, other than the tumor, and doctors asking them about their cell phone use. So I was clued in very early with these heavy users and the tumors it was causing. And then I had several colleagues of mine develop brain tumors in their 30s and very healthy individuals otherwise. Another colleague who developed a tumor in her breast where she put the phone in her bra and she lost her breast. And then I was working in my school district, and they're planning on rolling out school-wide Wi-Fi, and I had done the research because of my colleagues getting sick, and I knew it was a bad thing, and I started fighting with a school district not to do it and go wired instead of wireless, and I fought almost 3 years, providing them the information they needed to make a good decision, and I was simply ignored by the teachers union at Los Angeles Unified School District and by the school board at Los Angeles Unified School District, and I couldn't get the parents rallied as well, although I didn't have the resources really to do that. And it's really sad because now I'm hearing from Los Angeles Unified School District teachers that they're getting electrosensitive, developing neurological symptoms, and other teachers developing cancer about a year after they put in the new Wi-Fi, because it's a very, schools are now our most dangerous places to be. You have 20 to 40 wireless transmitters in their iPads and wireless laptops, and then you have 2 to 3 in LA Unified. It's 3 commercial grade wireless routers per room, and then you have each room with the same thing and it all multiplying. So you have really the setting of the most significant exposure in our country, and the most vulnerable population being exposed are small children, which we know are 3 to 4 times as sensitive to all environmental hazards.
I think more and more researchers, doctors, parents, and those who are in the position of power to do something about this are beginning to realize this. But this is, I mean, what's happening to our kids, and what the electromagnetic radiation, the proliferation of it is causing. I mean, everything up until this point really could potentially only be the tip of the iceberg, right? With this rollout, this planned rollout of 5G, which was just approved.
Yeah, we are microwaving our population and wondering why our cancer is going through the roof, and people aren't feeling as well, and the chronic disease is going through the roof. It's really very sad.
So we want to basically make it really clear. If you're watching this and if you want to do something about this, go to the link that's at the end of this video. It's going to be a bunch of information, links, and specifically an action link for you to take right now. Is going to be at the top of the section beneath this video. So Kevin, I want to thank you so much for everything you're doing. Thanks for your time and speaking to us today. And we wish you, the success in continuing to be among the front lines of those getting this truly life-saving information out to everyone.
Yeah, and as a closing statement, I really beg people to take action. And even if you don't see the link at the end of the website, you know where all the congressmen are, the House of Representatives and Senate. You know where all the committees are. Go. Educate them. Go like the wireless industry goes time after time. Go to the FCC. The FCC, I think, is visited 500 times per year, and it's like twice a day, you figure, on average, by the industry. And we have our information. We need to go as well, but especially to our representatives who are supposed to represent us and protect us. They need to see that it's a glaring problem. And what you will see is that they're getting sick as well. I spoke to Congressman Grayson from Florida, and while I was talking to him, one of his staffers, Joe, came up to me and said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I'm talking about wireless cell phones causing brain tumors." He said, "That's interesting because I had a brain aneurysm and I'm lucky to be alive." And then he said, "It's also interesting because my buddy just died from a brain tumor." So, they're heavy users up here, and
Wow.
you'll find that they're suffering too, and we need to build on that because we're past the point of potential harm. We're at the point of harm. there's 10 to 15 years for tumor growth. We're there as a group, and we're doing nothing but making it worse. So people are definitely getting sick, and you need to ask them, does your face tingle when you use your cell phone? Do your hands tingle when you use cell phone? Do you have difficulty sleeping? Have you ever gotten nauseous using the phone? Do you feel funny when you're around Wi-Fi or getting close to it? And you'll be surprised. People are getting sick. For instance, I spoke to Congressman Rush. Congressman Rush had a salivary gland tumor, which Israel has associated with cell phone use. Mm-hmm. I spoke to one staff office, and one of the staff members, a very young woman, went by me with a cane. Mm-hmm. And I said, I don't mean to be nosy, because we were done talking. I don't mean to be nosy, but what's wrong with you? She says, I have this rare immune system disorder, and it's basically eating my spine. And I said, well, you should look at reducing your wireless radiation exposure, mm-hmm. because for some people it makes the immune system just go berserk. And it could save your life, and it's a relatively easy thing to do to reduce your exposure. Mm-hmm. And she listened to me, and she says, I'll think about that. It never hurts to reduce my exposure. So we need to reach out and educate this community, and we need to do it now. Time is gone. The time to wait is over. We need to stop this before they auction this spectrum. You need to go, whether it's by yourself or with others. You need to go.
Yeah. Thank you. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you, Kevin. There you heard it. We got our marching orders. We know what to do. There's links below. Kevin, thank you so much, and we'll look forward to your future updates.
All right. God bless, and everyone take care of themselves, and let's take care of everyone else as well.
Absolutely. Bye, you guys.
Moments like this are made for rebellion. Stand up and be counted. 1, 2, 3. We made a promise to live in peace and be honest. War after war with no end in sight. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ocean to ocean, join the peace and love revolution. Take my hand and we'll hold the line. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Time to stand up. If you're with me, put your hands up. Sing with me now, just like the rain me. Your thoughts are things, now direct them like laser beams. We can change the world in like 1, 2, 3. Ocean to ocean, join the peace and love revolution. Take my hand and we'll hold the line. Oh, 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 shine. Oh, 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 join the peace and love revolution. Take my hand and we'll hold the line. We'll hold the line. Today is the day that I throw my stupid cell phone away. I'll sell everything I got on eBay and unplug from this collective mind. I'll head for the sea, searching for an island perfect for me. we'll find this brave new world isn't free. So I'll build a rocket to outer space, find a new place. I need to stop orbiting other people's planets. I know that I was born to build a planet of my own, and this planet X will not be bound by gravity. I look at the moon on the dark side, I notice a room. It's a message that says we'll be there soon, but I'll never let them take this place from me. You see, I need to stop orbiting other people's planets. I know that I was born to build a planet of my own, and this planet X will not be bound by gravity. Come with me, we'll never look back. Come with me, we'll never look back. Science fiction is science fact. No reptilian will enslave us, will embrace tomorrow. There's only one rule. If you want to come with me, don't be cruel. There will be no king and therefore no fool. Just be kind to everyone and we'll find harmony. You see, we need to stop orbiting other people's planets. We know that we were born to build a planet of our own, and this planet X will not be bound.
What is the common value of the people who are against Americans? They all have money. They're all feeding off of us. They're the leeches, the ticks, they need our blood. Of course they're going to be in bed with each other. Of course they're going to help each other out over you and me. We're feeding them. They won't, right? They're scared. They're terrified too. I saw one video this election season about one guy who was brave enough to make a video, says, "Screw you, America, big middle finger up. Screw you guys. Doesn't matter who you elect, I'll still be rich. Doesn't matter what you do, I'll still make money." One video, one elite, supposedly. I hate saying, I don't want to say that. That's a programmed word. They are not the elite. They are the most greedy people on the planet. They don't deserve that word. They are the greediest scum on the earth, period. But yeah, that's what they have in common. They're the greediest scum on earth. Of course they're going to be going to schools together and hanging out together. And they are on that team. And yeah, unfortunately, we've yet to decide what team we're on. That's the problem. If we decided we were all on the same team, but it's the same old game. Divide and conquer. And people yet to see.
And the American people, they're such sheep. They look up to the billionaires.
Yep.
When you don't get $1 billion without having screwed a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Without having ripped off or made people homeless or exploited them. Like
Haiti.
You look at some of these big corporations. The CEO of the corporation is getting $20 million a year, and meantime, the laborers, the guys running the wires and doing all that work, they say, "Oh, we got to cut back on your contract. You can't have health care anymore, or you can't have paid vacations." You know. Meantime, the guy at the top, some of these guys are getting $100 million a year as CEOs, but meantime, they're the guys that are negotiating and saying the unions can't have what they used to have, no more paid vacations, And it's like,
What really boiled my blood was when I found out what's going on in Haiti there.
Yeah.
That is a constant money pool for the Clintons. Do you know who owns Haiti? Hillary's brother.
Explain that.
I couldn't believe this. There was a gentleman who was from Haiti explaining the situation that, all that money that people donate to go to Haiti, it goes
To the Clinton Foundation.
Right, to rebuild Haiti. Oh yeah, they're rebuilding Haiti. They're rebuilding the mine in Haiti, the gold mine. They're setting up the oil derricks in Haiti. Oh, why would they build good structures and because if the people aren't dying from the hurricanes, then they have no reason to keep getting the money in. So they keep building up the business infrastructure, leaving the people in little grass huts that get blown out and flooded, so that more people dump more money their way, and people are unawares. Totally blinded to the fact that they're paying the Clintons to build up Haiti as a hub for gold mining and oil.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Just found that out last month.
It's been that way. They've decimated Africa. This is
Same way. They put people in debt with these bad deals, and then the dictator splits town. The country still owes all that money, and what way do they have to pay? Their natural resources.
Yeah, and what they do is they say, okay, these tribes that have been living peaceably together, or maybe had minor squabbles amongst each other, right? But their land is valuable, so we'll arm these guys, and we'll arm these guys, and we'll send in somebody to kill some of these guys.
Yep.
So now, next thing you know, you got two forces armed to the teeth, and they're all killing each other off, so that they can come in and take their land. How many millions and millions of Africans have been killed? Genocide has been going on in Africa for as long as I've been alive, folks.
And then you hear about all these people, blah, blah, about how hard, my ancestors had it, or we've all paid. Every race has been exploited at this point. Can't we agree that enough is enough?
Yeah.
Nobody suffered more or less. I think that we all want to be number one. We got this thing. We want to win. We got to be the first. The horror. We had to have it the hardest. I think that's really where we start getting caught up.
Yeah.
I really do.
And that's where the politicians try to push that, like Donald Trump again. Oh, well, we're going to make America great. America's going to be what the rest of the world respects. Well, the rest of the world is laughing at us, folks.
Yes, they are.
The rest of the world is saying, look what these Americans are believing. Europeans, they look and they say, do you believe this election? Hillary and Trump and the American people are buying it? The Russians are they don't believe it. The Chinese don't believe it. Most of the world they don't understand how the American people can be so brainwashed, and that we're allowing this to happen. We're allowing this government, the same government that's screwing us, is screwing them, folks.
Oh yeah.
And then that government keeps telling us, don't pay attention to what we're screwing you out of. The Russians are our enemy,
right.
Or the Chinese are our enemy, or the Arabs are our enemy. They always got to have an enemy to keep you so you don't look at, hey, the guys that are screwing me are the same guys that I voted for. Hello, folks.
Exactly.
There was a great old Woody Allen movie, I think it was called Bananas.
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the title of it, but in this movie, Woody Allen is in this airplane, and there's two rows of guys. And on one side, they're all dressed in white, and the other side, they're dressed in black or something, something like that, different colors. But they're all CIA. And so he's talking to the one group, and he says, the group that he's in, he goes, well, where are we going down? Oh, well, we're going to go down and help the rebels, and try to get control of the government down there. Oh wow, okay, so that's the assignment, huh? And then he asks the guys on the other side of the plane in the black suits, and one of those guys goes, well, we're going down there to help the government,
Fight against the rebels.
To fight the rebels.
He goes, wait a minute, aren't we all CIA? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, well, what's the point of this? He goes, well, no matter who wins, we're still in control.
Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
that's kind of the game that's always, controlling both sides of the conflict.
Right.
The great banking families, the Medici, and all, before the Rothschilds and all that, going back 1,000 years or even more, 2,000 years. A lot of these conflicts in Europe were funded. Both sides of the conflict were funded by the same bank.
Right.
And it was usually involving somehow getting the king indebted. And then the king being indebted to the bank would have to then use his population, his subjects, in some form or another. You would know more than I would on
Tax
that.
them.
And tax them to relieve the debt on the kingdom.
Right.
And then they have another war.
Right. That was, the Rothschilds learned that during the Napoleon War. You had 3 Rothschild brothers. One had the bank in France. One was involved with the bank in London, and the other was involved in the bank in Germany, right? And they said they started the war, but they funded Napoleon and they funded the English. They got them to fight, and they owned the arms companies.
Yes.
So now they lend the government money to buy arms from them at interest. Then they have the war and the government, and they run the governments into debt. So now they got all the people in the country working as debt slaves to pay off the government debt, while they made money off the arms, they made money off the loans to the government, and they enslaved the people. Rothschild took over the Bank of England that way. He had his spies were up watching when Napoleon fought. Who was the guy he fought? Yeah, I forget his name. Who the other side in the Battle of Waterloo?
Russians?
No.
Italians?
No, it was the English. I can't remember the guy's name who beat Napoleon, right? But he was English. But Rothschild had his spy watching it. As soon as the battle was won, he got back to England before the word got back to England that they won the war. So he stood outside the Bank of England looking depressed and started selling off his stock in the Bank of England, right? Meantime, he had other guys buying the stock for him as he sold it. And other people saw Rothschild. Oh, Rothschild knows something we don't know. He's selling the Bank of England. So they all dumped their shares and he bought them all up. Mm-hmm. So then when the word got back to England that England won the war, he now controlled the Bank of England.
Similar thing happened in the United States. The private banks were actually pretty good, from what I heard. And then the big scare is that, oh no, the banking system is no good. You got to pull your money out, and everybody scammered to the banks and withdrew, and then they instilled this debt-based system that we know today.
Every depression we've had, that's what they did.
Exactly.
They bankrupt the little banks, so the big banks just keep buying them up and buying them up.
But it's the same game, and most people hate history. They slept through history. I loved history. Yeah. And I latch onto those history lessons because now I see them happen over and over again. Yeah. But unless you know it's a horrible cycle, how can you prevent it? It's the same game. It worked before. People are unawares of it, and so it continues to work again.
So my dad said that the interesting thing about 1929, right? The big stock market crash and how so much money was lost. And he said no money was lost.
Right.
He said no. When guys were jumping out of buildings, to their death because they lost so much money. The money didn't just disappear.
Right.
If somebody lost money, that means somebody else made money.
Yeah.
And so don't fool yourself. The stock market crash in 1929 was only a crash for the losers.
Right.
There were some big-time winners out of that. Mm-hmm. And that happened again in 2008.
Right.
That whole was engineered, and similarly because of the deregulation of the Glass-Steagall Act, which prevented marginal investment. You know,
Which
and
the
that-
Clintons did.
Yeah,
To
and
kill the Glass-Steagall Act.
that's right. And you know, the history of that would be that these regulatory laws were instituted to stop the sale of stock on pennies to the dollar. And you had you had to have at least 90 cents to the dollar to buy stock. You know, prior to 1929 and prior to 2008, those two crashes had a similar thing where they were doing the marginal investment, the marginal buying.
Right.
So they would buy on, you know, it got down to 10 cents on the dollar. But when you call that loan in and that other 90 cents isn't there, anybody holding the note, right, has to pay the note.
Right.
And there's nothing to back it up.
Right. That's what they did this time. You know, it's just amazing. We did shows with a guy who does forensics, a forensic examiner who examines bank books. And he told us, he testified before Congress, before they bailed out the banks, he testified that for $3 trillion, the government could pay off every mortgage in the United States, so every citizen in the United States would own their own home, right? But instead of bailing out the American people and paying $3 trillion, they bailed out the banks by saying they were too big to fail for $32 trillion. And they put that debt on the American people. Now, even further, they paid off all those mortgages. So the American people bought the debt, but they didn't tell the American people. Remember when they kept saying toxic assets? Toxic assets? They didn't tell the American people what the toxic assets really were. Was the bankers took one mortgage. What they do is they took your mortgage, my mortgage, his mortgage. They pool them together. It becomes a bond.
Yep.
Right? Now they can sell that bond on Wall Street. So they don't really own the mortgage to people's houses because it's now not a mortgage anymore. It's a bond.
Right.
Right? But what they did was they didn't just take your mortgage, my mortgage, and your mortgage and sell it on Wall Street. They made forgeries of your maybe 10 of his, 10 of mine, 10 of yours. Now they got 10 bonds, but those 10 bonds are only backed by 3 original mortgages. So they have to make us go broke so they don't get caught for the scam.
Wow.
And they take the other 9 bonds, but they actually did it like 100 mortgages, right? And what they did was they took the bonds and they sold them with triple A rating.
Yes.
To all the retirement funds of the people of America. So now what they did was they sold forged instruments, forged documents to funds that were retirement funds. So now all the American people not only lost their houses, they lost their retirement money through forged paperwork. But instead of our government going after the bankers for these forged securities, which is what they should have been saying, forged securities, which would have locked up the bankers, they just said, oh, no, they're, what do they call them again? Toxic assets. Our government is going to buy the toxic assets. So we, the American people, paid again for these toxic assets, which were actually forged securities that they used to rip off we, the American people. And that's why it went to $32 trillion. If the government could have paid off every mortgage in the United States for $3 trillion, and the banks were saying these were mortgage-backed securities, how did it get to $32 trillion? It got to $32 trillion because they forged so many securities. So they made money They made money when they sold the original note to people, and people were paying off their mortgage. Then they made money when they sold that to the retirement funds for everybody. They made money on that. And then they insured all those mortgages and all those fraudulent notes with AIG, who was backed by the government, right? And then they collected the money from all the retirement funds from people who thought, oh, I'm buying AAA rating, and I'm going to be able to retire. I've worked for 30 years, and when I retire, I'm going to have a nice check. And then they find out that the money that they bought AAA ratings, and AAA rating is not supposed to collapse, but it did. The bubble popped. That's what they told the people. The bubble popped. No, people, the bubble didn't pop. It was set up to fail every step of the way. It was a rip-off every step of the way, and the American people bailed them out, gave them more money. So they made money when they sold the original note. They made money when they turned it into a bond and sold it to steal your retirement fund. They made money by insuring that to fail. Then they made money when the government took your tax dollars and bailed them out. And meantime, now the government is saying, we're trillions of dollars in debt, and we got to raise your taxes, folks. We can't raise the minimum wage because we're so far in debt. How long are you people out there in television land going to just keep accepting, getting bent over and having them put it to you, folks, on a regular basis?
I don't think people know what to do. It's so overwhelming. It happens so often, and think, oh, it's just the way things are. I think that the easiest thing to do is just turn on the TV and forget about it. You have all these luxuries. People, but we complain about so much. How can we live like kings did and complain every day? It blows my mind. I think that the best thing we can do, though, here's my approach, is just agree with what we can agree on. Talk to each other. Say, yeah, we can agree. Instead of attacking each other for our differences, realize that there are a lot of things that we do have in common. And let's just focus on those things. And really try to communicate with one another to kind of organize as a people, as a unit, to the best of our capabilities, at least to spread information.
No, I see.
No?
I think that we, the people, got to wake up and demand the criminality in, first of all, our politicians that are acting in a criminal manner, especially our court system. Our court system. We watched down in New York, in housing court, where people are being evicted. The judges always rule for the banks. The judges, most of the judges know that the banks did these scams. They know about the robo-signing. They know about all that stuff. But when the banks come in, a lot of these judges have stock in the banks.
Right.
So when the banks come in, they rule against the average person.
Well, that's my point, though.
Let me finish. The first thing we got to do as a people is get our courts back to honest. We got to get criminal judges off the bench. Then we can start bringing these bankers. I did shows with, what was her name from the World Bank? Karen Judies, who was a whistleblower for the World Bank, right? I did shows with her, and we were talking, and she was saying about how the World Bank did all these fraudulent things. And I told her, it's like a big vacuum cleaner. You got all these bankers up top sucking the money and sucking the equity of all the people through rip-offs, through fraudulent actions. What we need to do is bring these bankers at the top to justice, to bring them into an honest court, put them in jail, because what they've done, they've committed treason in most of the countries. They've committed crimes against humanity by the wars they've created, right? They've ripped off the wealth of not just America, many countries. Right now, if we get honest courts and we bring these guys to jail, they keep records. The guys on top keep records of every penny. They know just how the money came up, who handled it, who it went through. I mean, they got the records.
Right.
And all they got to do is, since they sucked it all up like a big vacuum cleaner, all we got to do is put them in jail and put the vacuum cleaner on blow and blow all that money back to where it was stolen from.
Yeah.
You know? And if we do that, then, you know, these guys got trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, the big guys on top. Every person in the United States, every person in the world could be getting a check for like $1 million for all that they've stolen, you know? And that's all we really need to do. We need justice. If we don't get justice, if we don't bring the criminals to justice, what's happened under Franklin Delano Roosevelt, what happened in 2008 is going to happen to our grandchildren.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Unless we bring them to justice. And, you know, it's not like just saying, oh, well, what can we do about it? We, the American people, we the people, better do something about it.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. I think...
We complain, we got a signal.
I think a lot of people are looking for that avenue to do something just like that. Just do something about it.
We need honest courts first.
Which is what I was trying to get at. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. We need justice again. But these people are patsies in most of these offices. Yeah. In most of the offices. And how are we going to elect the right officials? Is communication. Our biggest power is if we communicated with each other better. That's all I was trying to say.
That's why we do shows like this.
And, you know, we got to keep that going. We got to keep talking. Well, that would be nice. Yeah. It'd be great to be able to you know, win over. I think at a certain point things do get that bad when the patsy turns his leaf and says, no, I've gone far enough, and he does the right thing. I do, but I'm not waiting for that. I feel like you know, if we can talk about who's the right people, some of these people on the ballot, I didn't even know their names, and I'm pretty like, you know, I do some research. There were a couple, I might have heard their name. I don't know what they stand for. I don't know them as a people, which means to me that there's a lack of communication within each other. At least 20 people I know probably know that person. Literally. Yeah. I found this out through social media. Most people that I associate with a lot of other people I know. The problem is that, like we're saying, there's no justice because people are switched into the TV, into social media. They're distracted. It's all a ruse. It's to keep us, you know, following it's a magic trick. If you ever studied, I used to do magic when I was a kid. Yeah. If you ever studied any magic, you realize exactly what's happening. Hey, look at this.
Yeah. You're watching this hand while his hand's doing the trick.
Every step of the way.
Yeah.
And until we're like, hey, you always got that, you know, my cousin Vinny, you know, my Uncle Vinny, he always say, oh, he's got it in his palm. We need more people like that. Speaking up, saying the right thing, not being afraid to be the clown, not being afraid to be laughed at, because we've been programmed. You don't want to be that guy on TV. You don't want to be the guy that gets laughed at. So keep your mouth shut. Don't ask questions in class either, because everybody in class hates that. You know what I mean? These are the programmings that we receive every day, you know, what I'm getting at. And so the problem is how do we get these elected officials in? How do we know the right people?
Because Joe wants a cigarette, right? Why don't you take over, George? You want to do that?
How would we know the right people?
Do you have more spots to finish up, Joe?
Well, we only got I think we actually got the hour.
Well, can you, if you can
But-
for 5 more minutes, then we can do a nice show for you and turn in an hour DVD. Do you want to finish up for 5 minutes?
Okay, I can handle 5 more minutes without a cigarette.
Willpower. I got my wife to quit smoking cigarettes. You know, I think, well, I grew up in a household where cigarettes were acceptable. You know, everybody smoked back when I was a kid. I'm 33. I kind of grew up in the 80s, and smoking was legal in public places, most places. So
when I grew up, you could smoke on the bus.
Right. Isn't it a trip?
Yeah.
In the Kingston courthouse, they legalized smoking because the slaves down below smelled too bad, so they allowed smoking cigars in the courthouse. I mean, just to show you how things change, the natural consensus of things. But anyway, it's like I stopped smoking cigarettes based on willpower, and I did it by trying to quit continually. But I also attribute it to not having all that much money all the time. I said to my wife the other day, if I had an abundance of money all the time, I would have been able to buy the cigarettes at the times that I quit. I found the power, the willpower. So through some desperation and saying, no, I'm not going to borrow $10. I'm going to make it through this. You know, kind of like, yeah, you know, maybe we do need to tighten the belt a little bit in order to make way for the future. And that's what I did. I said, you know what, I'd rather not spend my food money on tobacco. I think that was the real divide, you know, eat or smoke. And I think I chose eating.
Joe's parents were, tell them about your parents.
Right, my parents smoked. My mother smoked when she was pregnant with me, because back then nobody was saying cigarettes were bad for you. So I feel like I came out addicted to cigarettes. I was stealing my parents' cigarettes when I was 10 years old and going behind the garage and smoking them. So, you know.
But they quit at 35 cents a pack.
Yeah, well, my parents, yeah, they quit when cigarettes hit 35 cents a pack. They said, 35 cents a pack? I'm not paying it anymore. And they quit. But I haven't been able to quit, even now that they hit $10 a pack. You know.
What worked for me was, and I tell people this, is I tried to quit multiple times, but I had to wait until I had no cigarettes at about midday. And then I have to make it just till the afternoon and try to eat as much as possible and pass out as early as I could. And then sleep as long as I could. It had to be on a weekend. Sleep as long as I could, and then wake up and try not to see or deal with anybody.
Yeah.
For that first day or two. If that was possible, I had a chance. And after I made it through day 3, it's all downhill.
Yeah.
It is tough, but you're always faced with that one moment where you're like, oh God, I'm going to break right now. And if you can make it through that one moment, it gets easier.
For me, it was different.
Oh.
I was so addicted to cigarettes. They put me in jail where I couldn't have any cigarettes. And every day, all I did was sit and think, I want a cigarette, I want a cigarette. As soon as I got out of jail, after 1 year in jail, my friend came to pick me up. I said, Charlie, lend me $10, lend me money, I got to have a pack of cigarettes. As soon as I got out of jail, the first thing I did was buy a pack of cigarettes.
And this is a legal substance.
Yeah.
Yet a plant a seed-bearing plant like weed, like marijuana, is illegal.
Right. Oh, I've done many shows on that. In fact, my show's called Pot Talk.
Yeah.
You're on Pot Talk.
No, exactly.
You're on Pot Talk.
Oh, okay.
That's my
awesome.
show.
Well, good. I mean, people should be talking about it. It was legal.
The main thing I push on Pot Talk, and I want to end on this, is we want all marijuana prisoners released, and we don't want any more going in. It's just a big scam. It's a slavery system. We want all marijuana prisoners freed, and we want no more going in. And we'll end it on that.